Good morning. Previously, we have discussed the various poetic or literary devices used in the poem The Cloud, written by Shelley. Today, we shall talk a little bit about the imagery used in the poem. Now, imagery is used to make readers perceive things involving their five senses: the sense of touch, the sense of sound, the sense of sight, the sense of smell, and the sense of touch. So here we see that the poem creates a strong visual imagery by. In the beginning also we see that it is the poetess is referring to the sunrise as sanguine and describing its reddish color. The poetess has mentioned the thunder also twice. For example, in the last line of the first stanza, the cloud is personified as laughing and it passes in thunder. Now this makes the reader imagine the walking of the cloud and the voices of laughing or the strange sounds of a thunder. These present the reality of the water cycle system that involves similar thunder and lightning as described. Then the line, "The great pines groan aghast." This also suggests the effect of the thunder on the snow and mountains below. Mountains below the clouds. Now, aghast is a suggestion of shock and horror. So, this line makes the reader imagine the intensity and force of thunder, thus appealing to his sense of hearing. Thunder has been mentioned again in the 7th line of second stanza. This has been done for more emphasis. Like line 9 of first stanza says, "I wield the flail of the lashing hail," thus suggesting that the clouds were moving in a violent and in a convulsive way. Then in the second stanza, the poem says, "Over the rills and the crags and the hills, over the lakes and the plains," as you see in line 14. These two lines suggest the texture of the size of the cliff, that is the crag. It means the steep rock, and the size of the streams. The word used here is rills. So this imagery appeals to the sense of sight and touch of the readers. Then again in stanza 4, we see that the phrases used such as "glides glimmering over my fleece like floor." Look at line number 3 and line number 5. "Tents thin roof." And again the next line number 9, "I laugh to see them whirl and flee." Then line number 11, "Wind-built tent." Similarly, line number 13, "like strips of the fallen sky." So all these phrases suggest the looks and the texture of the respective nouns to the reader. They help the reader develop the relative images of the nouns in the correct colors and shape as well as dimensions. They appeal to readers' sense of touch and sight. Now another example of imagery here is "His burning plumes outspread." Here, as the reader thinks of the fire, one can imagine of the odor. Odor is the smell that comes out of a burning arrangement of feathers, thus appealing to the smell. The appeal to senses integrates the reader with the real experiences of the nature of water cycle. So here is the imagery, and then another striking thing in the poem is the use of similes. Simile, as I told you earlier, is the comparison of an uninanimate object with the other. So here are a few examples of simile. As still as the brooding dove, thus suggesting the deep thought about a sad, angry or worried situation. Other uses of simile that make the poem more vivid may include stanza 4, let us come to line 10, like a swarm of golden bees. So the stars here are being compared. Swarm means a group of golden bees. Then stanza 4, line 3, my fleece like floor. Fleece is the wool. So the floor made by the cloud is compared to a floor of white wool. Then stanza 4, line 13, like strips of the sky fallen. And again line 5, stanza 5, with a bridge like shape. I hang like a roof. Stanza 5, line 7. So all these contain comparison. Now Shelley integrates the use of simile in a rhythmic flow to make the poem interesting, as I told you earlier, and thus create an appeal to the heartbeat voice of the reader. She says, like a child from the womb, like a ghost from the tomb, thus suggesting a course of the real actions to the reader. Thus we see that this uniqueness in the poem communicates the theme in a clear and interesting manner, so that the reader is able to relate all the things from the beginning to the end very clearly.